Wow. Just wow. Nothing surprises me with Stephen A. Smith anymore, but I have to admit, sometimes even I can be taken back by how stupid this man really is. ESPN, this is the guy that you want to go solo on Woke Take 5 days every week. This dude? How many times has ESPN given Stephen A. Smith the ball and he's dropped it? How many times can one guy fail by himself? He had that show in the early 2000s. I think it was called Highly Questionable, which is a fitting name for the mentality of Stephen A. Smith. Highly questionable. That show was an abject failure. He was on ESPN radio at one point, didn't work out. Ratings for First Take are pretty low right now. They're not great. Max Kellerman's taking the blame for that one. They're moving him out, giving Stephen A. Smith all the spotlight. When I hear the kind of logic I heard yesterday morning on First Take, I've got to question the decision makers at ESPN. Not that I wasn't questioning the executives at ESPN before this. They have taken what was once a crown jewel in sports media and in the span of 2 years have turned it into a 24-hour woke orgasm that no one is watching. Stephen A. Smith represents the overall mentality at ESPN. Everything is about race. Everything is about color. Let me break down what's going on that led to these ridiculous comments yesterday by Stephen A. Smith. Draymond Green and Kevin Durant, once bitter enemies playing on the same team, are now friends. They're Goombas. They just won a gold medal together at the Olympics. Wednesday, Draymond Green sat down with Kevin Durant for an interview with Bleacher Report. They talked about a lot of things, but one of the main points was their feud while they were playing together in Golden State. Somehow, instead of them taking the blame for not getting along, they found a way to blame Steve Kerr and Bob Myers. Look, there was plenty of blame to go around. Could Steve Kerr and Bob Myers, could they have handled things a little bit differently? Maybe, sure. I'm sure in hindsight, they both wish they handled it differently. In my eyes, most of the blame should fall on Draymond Green. He is the one that created the divide in the team. With that roster, the Warriors, they should still be winning championships. You had two of the greatest three-point shooters of all time, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson. You have arguably the best offensive player in NBA history in Kevin Durant. As much as I don't like Draymond Green, the media personality, as much as I don't think that he would be a household name had he been drafted to the Detroit Pistons instead of the Golden State Warriors, I still have to respect the fact that Draymond Green has been an integral part of the success in Golden State. He was also a huge part in the demise. Kevin Durant was already feeling like an outcast in Golden State before the feud with Draymond Green. When their little fight happened, that was all the fuel that KD needed to leave. According to Stephen A. Smith, all of this was avoidable. This was avoidable. The Big Four in Golden State, they would still be playing together. Had the Warriors had one thing. Now, what is that one thing? A sports psychologist? A magic wand? Dr. Phil coming in to mediate the situation between KD and Draymond Green? No, no, and no. None of those things. Come on. You have to think through the eyes of a racist, a woker. Stephen A. Smith claims if the Golden State Warriors had a black executive or a black head coach, everything would have been magically resolved. Quote, there was no one of African American descent that had any kind of cachet within the organization in folks' eyes that could have brought KD and Draymond together, end quote. Really? Really? There was no one of African American descent in the Warriors organization that had any influence, that had any cachet to bring Durant and Draymond Green together. Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't Steph Curry black? Isn't he the leader of that team? Oh, but he doesn't count. He doesn't count. We're not counting Steph Curry. Remember, we can't let facts get in the way of furthering the agenda. Even talking about the head coach and executives, Stephen A. Smith's point is still absolutely ridiculous. I don't know how the race of the head coach or the general manager has any effect on solving problems between players. Phil Jackson, for the entirety of his NBA career, he was white. Somehow, even with his inherent racism from being born white, he found a way to resolve problems between players. He was able to work around the problems with Dennis Rodman, Scottie Pippen. He was able to get Kobe and Shaq to play together, even when they didn't like each other. Now, of course, that situation eventually blew up, but that wasn't Phil Jackson's fault. That was on Kobe and Shaq will admit it. Just like it wasn't Steve Kerr's fault or Bob Myers' fault that Kevin Durant and Draymond Green could not get along. I cannot believe that more people in the media are not blasting them for blaming Steve Kerr, for their personal feud. At some point, these NBA players have got to take accountability for their own actions, just like the rest of us have to. Look in the mirror. Steve Kerr did not force Draymond Green to call out Kevin Durant. We're talking about grown men here, grown men making millions of dollars to play basketball, and they can't find a way to get along? Then you have Stephen A. Smith making $12 million a year to push this racist propaganda every day on ESPN. That's what this is. This is racist propaganda. Let me ask you something. What if Max Kellerman has said the same thing, but the roles were reversed? What if he had said that a black head coach or a black general manager weren't qualified to alleviate a problem because the problem involved white players? Max Kellerman, if he said that, would never work in media again. But because Stephen A. Smith, a black man, says it about two white men, mainly one white man and Steve Kerr, it's not considered racist. It's okay. Another example of woke hypocrisy. I don't agree with Draymond Green and Kevin Durant blaming Steve Kerr for their problem, but at least they didn't bring race into the conversation. Every single thing Stephen A. Smith talks about, it always goes back to race. He took it a step further and said white executives in the NBA are guarded. They're guarding their power because they don't want the black players to have the power. This is supposedly an NBA expert. Stephen A. Smith has covered the NBA over 30 years. How much more power could NBA players have? NBA players have more power than players in any other professional sport. Players in the NFL would kill for the power that NBA players have. I cannot believe there is not more backlash with this story. Look at, what was it, Jack Morris earlier this week in the Shohei Ohtani thing. Look at the backlash that created. That was minor compared to what Stephen A. Smith is talking about. How much more racist could Stephen A. Smith be? Those of you that have been following me for a while, you guys know, I don't think I have ever called someone a racist here on the channel. I don't think I ever have. I don't like the word. I think it's been beaten to death. I don't use it. It's overused. But at this point, I don't know how else to describe Stephen A. Smith. This logic has happened too many times. This guy's a racist. I don't care that he doesn't think for himself and is being told what to say by executives at ESPN. I don't care about that. At the end of the day, he is the one saying it. Race played absolutely no part in what happened at Golden State years ago. None. It was two grown men making millions of dollars every year, ruining what could have been one of the greatest dynasties in the history of the NBA. It is not Steve Kerr's fault. It is not Bob Myers' fault. It's not Steph Curry's fault. Oh yeah, Steph Curry. Stephen A. tried to blame him too. There's no one to blame here but Kevin Durant and Draymond Green. Really just Draymond Green. But this mentality of Stephen A. Smith, this is why ratings at ESPN continue to decline. I hate to be the one to break it to Stephen A. and ESPN. White people make up 65-70% of the population. The majority of white people are not racist. We just get tired of hearing about race every single day, especially when we're watching programming that is supposed to be centered around sports. All right, time to let me know what you think. Give me your thoughts on Stephen A. Smith and his racist rant, because that's what it was. Sound off in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe. Click the notification bell to receive all notifications from the channel. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com, KC_BTL84 on Twitter. I will see you guys tomorrow.